This is the original Esports racing game. This is iRacing.
Of the best sim racers. $100,000 on the line. Who will rise to the challenge? This is the most competitive iRacing World Championship. This is where legends are made. This is the Porsche Esports Supercup.
Here in the Porsche Esports Supercup, and last time out at Circuit Gilvildo, we saw Josh Rogers become the first driver to have 2 main event wins in this season. However, the chances of Josh Rogers making it 3 wins so far this season is going to be a massive uphill struggle here today in Bowman, Canada, at the Canadian Tires Motorsport Park. And the reason for that is himself and 2 other drivers have hit the incident limit, which means they are not going to be allowed to make a qualifying run for this, the 5th round of the championship. So hello again everyone, welcome to the Canadian Tires Motorsports Park, and welcome to round number 5 of the Porsche Esports Supercup, here live on Racebot TV and as ever on the iRacing Esports Network. Well, we have had ourselves a couple of weeks to reflect, and we are back ready to go racing. Qualifying will start in just about 7 minutes time. Paul Smith and Conor Maddock will be calling you through the action in a few moments time, but Paul, I want to start with that point that I opened with Joshua Rogers, as well even as Antoine Higelar and Moritz Lohner. Those 3 drivers are not going to be able to do a qualifying run here today. In effect, that means they're going to be starting from the rear of the field, and the rear of the field here at Mosport basically is you are starting not on the front straight away, but all the way back at turn number 9.
Yes, it's going to be a real struggle for these drivers here today to be able to make their way through the field. As you mentioned, those 3 drivers hitting their limits, for instance, so that means that these drivers, they're going to have to work their way through, but also, and something that we were commenting off air, is that they've got to be careful with how they work their way through the field as well, because they can't afford to pick up any more incidents, because if they pick up more incidents, they could end up with further penalties in this season, and for someone like Joshua Rogers, that could have a massive impact on his season. So today, it's all about just getting points, keeping it clean, and getting to the end of these races.
Yeah, it's worth noting that these drivers, after they've served their quote-unquote penalty in qualifying here today, they will then be allowed, they'll basically then have their incident limit reset to 0. But then, from then on, what will happen is, if they get 9 new penalty points, they'll get a 1-race suspension. After that, every 7 incident points, they'll get another suspension, and eventually, there is a chance they could be removed from the series. So, Connery, the first couple of rounds of this championship, we did see a lot of close wheel racing, which we love. but also a couple of times when people were just being a little bit too aggressive. And the way things can be now, it could be that all of the quote-unquote aggressiveness and the early jostling for position in the championship could well mean some drivers are going to struggle later on to make sure they can actually get their car to the end of the season.
Yeah, it was an absolutely crazy first few rounds of this championship, that is for sure. A couple of reasons for that. 30 to 40 cars on sometimes tight and twisty circuits isn't really the best idea. Plus it being a new championship as well, everyone wanting to stamp their authority on the series. But, you know, coming into what is the halfway point of the season now here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Pack, probably and hopefully a lot of the drivers will actually be a little bit more measured in terms of how they approach the race here today, knowing that some of the front runners are now starting to get themselves penalties. So I think things just might be a little bit calmer, but I could very much be wrong.
Yeah, indeed. So let's have a look at your championship standings then, as we have completed 4 race meetings out of 10, and it is Joshua Rogers who leads the way in the championship right now with a total of 500 points. Mitchell de Jong is 123 points behind with 377, and Pure Racing Team's Max Benecke went in third. He had a difficult start to the season, did Benecke, but he's worked himself now up into third place in the championship. Jamie Fluke in 4th place then for the Apex Racing Team, and then Martin Kroenke rounds out your top 5. For Tommy Erskard, who's also our driver of the day, he is 6th place in the championship. Sebastian Job, Patrick Holtzman, Jeremy Bootsloop, and Graham Carroll. They are your top 10 as it
of the
stands
best sim
right
race
about now.
$100,000 on the line.
So, yeah, Paul, in terms of the championship and how it's going on, it's great right now if you're going to SimSports. So you've got a number of drivers at the front of the field. Max Benecke, though, I did want to talk about him very quickly because, you know, he's kind of staging a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, he had, let's just say, not the best of opening rounds in the championship here, and he'd been involved in a few little things throughout the early stages, but he's just finding his feet and starting to make some real moves in this championship, which has seen him up to 4th place on that 314 points. One person I want to mention about as well, who's not a Commander driver, Jamie Fluke. He's been in and around the top 10 pretty much all the way through the season, and he's just been very consistent about things. He's only had 1 top 5 in this championship, but he's up there in 4th place, which shows that you don't have to necessarily be out and out at the point end of the field winning races. Being there, scoring good points, gets you a good position in the championship as well.
Yeah, but the thing about Jamie Fluke that's worth noting is the fact he is currently sat on 10 incident points. So if he gets himself another incident in this race here today, then there's a chance that we won't be seeing him in qualifying as we go into the 6th round of the championship. A couple of other drivers, of course, are very close to the margin. Graham Carroll is on 12 incident points right now. Well, Carroll is one of these drivers who has had to do a lot of work to make up positions in this series, Conrad, but I mean, that does occasionally come at a price.
Yeah, it does. When you have to be aggressive with the other drivers around you to try and improve your position, then of course you're going to get caught up in a little bit of an incident here and there, and as those pile up for your front runners, then I mean, towards the end of the season, we'll be seeing a lot more in the way of penalties in terms of the qualifying, having to start at the back of the grid. It's akin to like in F1 a couple of years ago where you had to take engine parts, and every time you did, you had to take a penalty in qualifying. And that's kind of what it's akin to here in this sort of situation. But we're a couple of minutes away from qualifying here, Will. And of course, we've already mentioned Joshua Rogers not taking part, so we will see a bit of an interesting one here.
Yeah, it will be. And let's just very quickly have a look at the track conditions for you. As there we are, it is partially cloudy here at Mosport today. This track measures just under 2.5 miles in length. So yeah, this track is shorter than Daytona and Talladega, so it's not that long a track, and that means that lap times here are quicker than what we'd often see. It is 24 degrees Celsius in the air right now. It is 40 degrees track temperature. Wind speeds, they are slight, but the humidity, that is at 58%. So practice is over, and it means that we are almost ready to go racing. But first, we've got to do qualifying. That's coming up now. Let's hand it over. Paul Smith, Connery Maddock, take it away.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will. So the excitement building as we're heading towards the halfway point of the championship. And we've been mentioning that crucial point that Joshua Rogers, no qualifying for him today. So we're going to see a little bit of a change up at the front here in this race. And worth pointing out those conditions that we have there out on track. It's not ideal, not conducive to really fast lap times. So they're going to be able to put lap times in, Connery, but track temperature, in fact, no, it has actually come down a little bit as that track temperature now. Hopefully we should see some really swift times here.
We should do. Of course, in the most recent patch, it is week 13 here on iRacing, so that's when everything gets updated, new features come into play, bug fixes, etc, etc, etc. And one of those things is that, well, the effect of the clouds shading the track has been reduced somewhat, so no, I think the drivers kind of turn hyper clouds or things like that to try and get a very, very good qualifying time in. Of course, they do affect things a little bit, but nowhere near as much as they used to. We're going to go with, well, these drivers currently just, getting their outlaps complete, making sure that they can get their bearings before they go on their first flying laps here. And of course, we have to remind people about the qualifying format. Points for the top 5 cars, and then we get a reversed grid for the first race based on the top 8. So that is the situation that drivers have had to be dealing with throughout this season.
Well, let's take you then with a lap with Tommy Østgaard then and talk you through what a flying lap. Hopefully we'll get the full lap from him here as he comes into the final corner. White's corner. Important to get a good run out of there. Don't run too wide out into the grass, and already you're into turn 1, the sweeping right-hander. Try not to go too much over the curb on the inside. Use the curb on the outside. Get it over to the right-hand side for Clayton Corner. This is turn 2. Really steep downhill section through here as we run out wide. Get it over to the left now for Quebec Corner, the right-hander. And a tricky corner to get right. It's a little bit slower than the first 2 corners, and now turn 4, it goes downhill suddenly here, and you're heading in towards the braking zone for Moss Corner, the double apex right-hander. There's the first part, turn 5, and now turn 6. Get the run out of this corner because you're going to carry the speed all the way down the Mario Andretti straightaway as we come through 7, which is that little left kink on the exit of Moss Corner, and now just flat out as fast as you can go. You can see the undulation change in the track here as well as we're heading in towards turn 8. Dab of the brakes down 1, 2 gears into the right-hander. You're going to slow it down that little bit more for turn 9, the left-hander, and try and get over to the left-hand side for your entry into that final corner again. 3rd gear for Tommy Østgaard. What's his time going to be like across the line? Well, it's actually not. It's a counted lap. It's 9th, now 10th place with a 118.02. That shows you how quick a lap is around here and how much work, Connery, these drivers have got to get through, as Enzo Benito is your fastest driver.
Benito is also setting very, very quick times indeed in practice, so he continues on that particular performance into the qualifying session here. He's actually only around about 1/100th of a second faster than Graham Carroll for provisional pole position right now, or with this, not actually pole position because of the reverse grid, but you get exactly what I'm talking about.
Points.
First in qualifying. Go on, Paul.
Yeah, we'll say maximum points for qualifying.
Yep, we will say that. So fantastic job for Enzo Benito to get himself into the position that he's in right now. So that's the first set of flying laps set by all of your drivers out here today. Just as I say that, Sebastian Job gets himself up into P6 for Red Bull Racing Esports. So the British driver also doing fairly well here in this first portion of the qualifying session. And everyone inside the top 7 is within 1/10 of a second.
Yes, really close action here in qualifying. David Novakovsky, really good first qualifying lap from him. Runs it out a little bit wide. and across the line, and he will stay in 4th place. That's his 2 laps done with now. Sebastian Job is on his 2nd fly lap. He's heading into the out of Moss corner now, heading down the Mario Andretti straightaway. We'll look at the car number 5, Martin Kroenke, just taking it easy, getting himself prepared. Where meanwhile, Gregor Hutu yet to set a lap time here. He's heading into those final 3 corners. Turn 8, this long sweeping right-hander into 9, the left, and then finally the tighter right-hand corner, turn 10. Don't hit that inside curb, it's quite a high curb. And here he comes across the line. What's his time? 1:17.855. That only moves him to 16th on the grid. That tells you how close this grid is across the line. Marin Cholak as well, his qualifying time a 17.7. So that moves him up to 10th place. So he's broken into the top 10 here. Everybody else, well, we're just having a look here just to see anybody else out on laps. Not really that many laps happening at the moment. Everybody's pretty much set times. And yeah, this is there's a number of cars, other than the 3 that got qualifying penalties, who are not setting any qualifying times at all, Connery. And they're running out of time here.
Yeah, I do want to make a point, though, because Marin Cholak getting himself up inside that top 10, that's going to be absolutely fantastic result for him. He's only finished inside of the top 20 in a race 3 times so far this season, and to get himself inside the top 10 in qualifying for this one, that sets himself up for a fantastic result here today. Gregor Hutu out there on track still, currently P17 in terms of the lap times that he's set right now. Coming through the final corner, can Hutu improve on his position? Across the line he goes. It is going to be not an improvement there for Gregor Hutu across the line to finish his particular qualifying session. So that is pretty much the grid set now, because we won't get a good amount of drivers out there setting qualifying lap times at the back of the field because of various penalties that have been handed out. So Enzo Benito wins qualifying. He'll get cycled back into P8 for the start. Your pole position sitter will actually be Jamie Fluke for the sprint race.
Yeah, well, we might as well run you through the results from qualifying here now. We've got the time to do that. And it is Enzo Benito then with the fastest time, just 0.012 second faster than Graham Carroll in second. Max Benecke in 3rd place. That's interesting to see how they're so close together, with David Novakovsky 4th, Jared Filsell, Patrick Holtzman, Mitchell de Jong and Jamie Fluke rounding out the top 8. So it is Fluke that is starting on pole position here, with de Jong in 2nd. That's a really strong position for those 2 championship contenders there, but Holtzman's hanging around there as well. Sebastian Job then is going to be outside the top 8 in 9th place for him, with Marin Cholak, as we mentioned, rounded out the top 10 of your field. And then Kamal Franchek, Jeremy Bootloop in 12th, Martin Kroenke 13th. 1st to 13th covered by 1/10 of a second. That is absolutely crazy. Thomas Tahala and Alejandro Sanchez, Tommy Erstgaard, who we looked at that lap exact time as Gregor Hutu there, so 16th and 17th for those 2. Marcus Jensen and Alexander Thebe, again, another 2 with equal times. Pasturgis rounded out the top 20, then Ricardo Castroledo, Kevin Ellis Jr., Sebastian Dunkel, Bobby Zelensky down in 24th, Marty Piatella, Ilka Harpala 26th, Yao Vaz, Kazuki Umashima and Dion Verges rounded up 29, who set qualifying times. And of course we had Josh Rogers, Lauren Heinrich, Moritz Lerner, Antoine Hijla and David Williams all did not set lap times. But it's Jamie Fluke who's on pole position. Just quickly here then, Connery, what are your thoughts then going into this first sprint race?
Qualifying is absolutely stacked. Let me just say that. In terms of how close all the drivers are, this is absolutely crazy. Almost everyone within 1/10 of a second inside your top 13 drivers. That's how close things are here today, and we can see perhaps as a result some fantastic fighting right at the pointy end of the field. I have no idea who's going to win this first sprint race. If Joshua Rogers was in the mix, it would most likely be him, but since he's out of the equation now, it's just all up for grabs.
if we get the chance to have a look at it just quickly, Josh Rogers on the grid, 30th place. He's on the entry into the final corner. You can see it on board there. The task that he's got to get around that final corner just to actually start the race here. So hardly ideal for those starting near the back, but they'll be hoping to make up some ground here in this race, this first sprint race. 15 minutes if you haven't seen any of the events in this championship. 15-minute sprint race, and then we have a 30-minute feature race rounding out your racing from today's event. So waiting patiently for drivers to get onto the grid. Jamie Fluke then for the British, well, I say British, Northern Irishman. He's UK, so that counts. Northern Irishman on pole position. Revs rise. The sprint race is about to go, and away we go then, and it's a good start from the front for Jamie Fluke. He gets out in front of Mitchell de Jong, second place. Third place is Holtzman then as they come around turn one. Hopefully everyone is able to make it around that corner. It's all pretty side by side further back. Rogers also trying to make some moves further back, I see, but it is Fluke at the front there ahead of de Jong. And we've got the car off there. One of Pure Racing cars. He's health there. Dropped back to the field. Back of the field there. That's, I believe that was Werner actually who made that mistake. But anyway, Thebe it was, sorry, down there, down in 33rd place right now, so not an ideal start. This is a tricky part of the track, and there is an incident at Moss Corner, and it's Pash Jurgis who is around. There's been a big incident there further back in your field, and you can see they're struggling to get back on, and don't save for the second time in a row. Pash Jurgis has got involved with one of his teammates. He hit the 12 car, almost got sent up and over, did Jurgis, but gets out of the way and back up and running. So not a great start for these drivers here, but at the front at the end of the first lap, it's Fluke from de Jong from Holtzman. That's your top three, Connery.
Yeah, it was relatively clean right at the front of the field for the first lap. We had that little bit of an altercation further down the field involving Pash Jurgis, which caused a little bit of a mess there inside that mid-pack, with drivers trying to have to avoid the car spun right in the middle of the circuit. But apart from that incident, I think we are all clear up and down the field in terms of first lap instance there. Oh, that's Enzo Benito just wheeling the car around the first sector there. So perhaps tricky conditions for him to be concerned about right now. He's having to try to defend from a Red Bull Racing Esports driver right behind him. That's going to be Sebastian Job. So the Brit on the Italian coming up through the slowest portion of the racetrack here. Turn 5 and 6. It's where you can get passes done, but Job that time is not able to do anything. He'll just tuck within the slipstream here all the way down to Mario Andretti straightaway, and then maybe look for something into turn 8, which is a potential passing opportunity at this racetrack. It isn't the best one by any means, but if you can bring it side by side, maybe around the outside through here, then that gives you the advantage for the next left-hander as well. But Job not going to be close enough to be able to make anything work this time. This is the battle for P1 though. We're riding on board with the American Mitchell de Jong, keeping Jamie Fluke in his sights. But the thing is, he has Holtzman all over his rear bumper as well.
Yeah, so I think the whole thing with Benito getting a little bit squirrely, I think he was maybe helped there by Sebastian Job in that instant, but they're able to carry on and stay as they are. So David Navakovsky has actually been defending and I believe lost a position potentially in all of this action at the start, but he's there in 6th place. He's right behind Max Benecke, the driver in 3rd place in the championship. Getting some in a good position, get some good points here is Max. He sat right behind the Australian of Jared Filsell as they're heading down the Mario Andretti straightaway once again. And one thing we did see last time out was that last time out of Canada, the slipstream isn't that strong, although Mitchell de Jong is making the slipstream work around the outside of 8. He can make it work because he's going to be on the inside for 9. Oh. Fluke is still there, a little bump, and wide they go, and Fluke from the lead of the race is now dropped down to 4th place in this race.
Yeah, proving what I said a lap ago, if you're going to hang it around the outside through turn 8, then you can make the pass complete for 9, and that's exactly what Mitchell de Jong has done. You see a bit of door barging coming through 8. Jamie Fluke pushed wide, loses multiple positions, has a little bit of damage to the left-hand side of his Porsche, as well as on the live pictures at least, he'll look to lose another position here to Maximilian Benecke, but he will hold on as they go side by side coming up through the first sector. This is just giving your top 3 a bit of a chance to run away with this one. Fluke is able to hold on to P4 for now, but he's walking wounded at this stage.
Yeah, and with that damage, you will be affected down this long straightaway. Look at that queue of traffic. It's like a bank holiday queue of traffic behind a caravan down an air road as they go along. That's a reference for the UK fans. As Fluke having to hold that inside line, and Benecke looking to use the slipstream what he can. And again, pulling out. He's not pulling out quite as early as de Jong, so Fluke should be able to just hold on to that position for the time being. But you can make moves here, but it's going to be tricky to make positions up in this race, and I think we've seen the trickiness of being able to make overtakes here. But Fluke hanging on. It's Benecke, Carroll, Navakovsky, Benito, Job all behind him in the cube. And the drivers through turn 1 again. Tricky corner, but another tricky corner. That downhill left-hander into the second corner here. We're on board with Tommy Østgaard as he's further down your field. 15th place. He started 16th, so he's gained 1 position in this one so far. But he's stuck behind Thomas Tahala. He's getting a bit loose on the power on the exit of that turn 3. Downhill turn 4, hit the brakes hard. Not too hard to lock up though. You're turning, you're braking. It's really tricky as they go through 6 onto the back straight away again. And Østgaard just staying there for the time being further back. Everybody's just staying pretty much as they are, but Graham Carroll, he's in that double slipstream here. Can he make it work? Well, Benecke, he's pulling out. He's going to try and do what de Jong did a couple of laps ago on Jamie Fluke, around the outside of 8 now. He's got the inside for 9, but Fluke can carry the speed through 9, and that's exactly what he's done there. And here comes Carroll now to try and take advantage of it. Benecke gets a little bit loose on the exit. Here comes Benito and Navakovsky as well. They're side by side into 1. It's just gone crazy all of a sudden. Further back here, Sebastian Job has moved past Navakovsky as well. Navakovsky's falling down the field, 6th down to 9th place he is at the moment as they go through the left-hander here. But absolute nightmare for David Navakovsky to find himself in that situation, as now his teammate Kamil Franchek is coming under pressure from Jeremy Bootloop here.
We've got a little bit of a fluke train going on, and well, that's just because Jamie's doing a fantastic job at holding position at the front of this train. We'll see the replay up on screen for you now with that little bit of confusion further back in the pack. The 2 Triton Racing teammates there, Nowakowski involved, getting themselves through that first sector, but down the Marion J straight away now. This is where you can look to make those slipstream passes. Here comes Jeremy Bootloop trying to make his impact inside the top 10. Will he get run out of the road? No, he somehow is able to find a space on the inside line there, coming up towards turn 8, but he still needs to go super late on the brakes to be able to make this one work. He's just going to back out of that one for now, still follow that car of Franchak very closely through the final sector. Everything's still absolutely nose to tail here for position 4 and back, and it's still Fluke leading the train here for P4. He's doing a great job considering the incident, considering the damage, at holding on to a very healthy point scoring position at the front of this train. Phil Sell, Holtzman, and of course we got Mitchell de Jong right at the front of the field. De Jong leading this one. You can see the gap that has appeared between themselves and P4 now as everyone gets stuck behind P4.
Absolutely, but as you mentioned, Fluke doing an amazing job. Here comes Benito, the Italian, trying to make the move then on Sebastian Job, and it's not just going to quite happen just yet. Into Moss they go once again, out of turn number 6, through that left-hand kink here at 7. It's a great view here. You can see that queue of cars in front of Enzo here as they're going down this Mario Andretti straightaway. Two iconic names in motorsport named after, with corners named after them here. Moss and Mario Andretti. You cannot get better than that. Look at that in front. Beneke is trying to make the move on Fluke once again. Can he make this one stick? Yes, he can. He gets the job done. Here comes Graham Carroll. What a ballsy move from him to make that dive down the inside there. They did a little bit of door banging into the final corner. Fluke's holding it around the outside, and Fluke with his bit of touring car experience getting that foul. There's a spinner. That's Sebastian Job. Sebastian Job's around. One of your top 10 in the championship, and he's had a massive incident on the exit of turn 1. We'll have a look at the replay here again, but Connery, what on earth happened there for Sebastian? Did he just clip the grass or something like that?
Let's have a look. We'll get the view from up above. You see the side-by-side up ahead of him. Of course, he is the car second in line on that Red Bull Racing Esports inside line. The car just snaps on him coming out of the first turn. Heavy impact with the concrete wall on the inside there. That's a horrible, horrible moment there for Sebastian Job. He can't catch a break in this entire series, it feels like, with the incidents that he has been involved in. But looking back up towards around about P5, P6 here, Graham Carroll's been able to make his way by on Jamie Fluke, so this seems to be around about the time that Fluke starts to be falling down the field here, thanks to the damage that he has incurred after that battle for the race lead early on in the race. Those are your top 8 up on screen for you now. It's Young from Holtzman, from Phil Sell, from Beneke are your top 4, and then you have this little bit of a fracas further back. Carroll, Fluke, Benito, Nowakowski in that order, but that's still very much undecided. Pretty much all the positions inside your top 8, because we have the top 3 stat together, and then we have 4th through 8th all stat together as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, the results from this race will be the starting positions for the second race. Give you an update of what's happening with Josh Rogers. He's 17th at the moment, so he's made a really good recovery drive here in this race so far. When you consider that Antoine Hugelar as well, he was another one that had a qualifying penalty. He's down in 18th. In fact, Josh has just made up another couple of positions there at Moss Corner, because Thomas Tahala went out wide there and lost position. So Rogers and Hutu are going to be side by side, but yeah, you'll see this again on the replay. So Rogers now up to 15th. That's 2 spots gained. A little bit of a bump there, and Rogers went down the inside, said thank you very much, I'll take both of those spots. So he goes through on those drivers there. We've got battling further down with Martin Cronke as well, and Marin Cholak. 2 drivers side by side. We've only got 3 minutes remaining in this race, so potentially 2 laps remaining. In fact, no, 3 laps remaining. Look at the lap times as they're going through turn number 1. Once again, Cholak holding ahead of Martin Cronke as they go through turn number 2. But it's been fantastic racing once again in this Porsche Esports Supercup, and these drivers putting on a great show. Hope everyone's enjoyed this driving here, because it's a tricky track to overtake at, as this one. It's got plenty of challenges, plenty of undulations, but everyone's doing a sterling job here in this race. His front 3, they're still together, they're still the same, so that's okay, as we'll look on board with Tommy Erstgaard, who's right behind. This is the Norwegian's right behind the German of Martin Cronke. So those 2 battling it out towards the bottom end of your front half of the field. Yeah,
on board with Tommy Erstgaard. We were on board with him for his qualifying, well, his first qualifying laps as well, where we had that picture-in-picture to see how hard that he's working, trying to wheel that Porsche around this Canadian Tire Motorsports pack. He's in a little bit of a situation here. He's got cars all around him as well, cars pushing wide as well. That's Alejandro Sanchez there, trying to keep himself on the grey stuff, shall we say, but our attention gets drawn back towards the race lead now with a 1 minute and 36 seconds remaining. Next time across the line will be the start of the final lap here for these guys. It is a pretty short lap time here, 1 minute 18 seconds or there and thereabouts to get yourself a lap around this circuit. And Holtzman, well, he's looking for his second sprint race win here in this series. He got his first one, don't forget, at Spa-Francorchamps, but wasn't able to convert it into a main race win. So Holtzman looking for the move, perhaps, maybe looking for the exit out of turn 6 to set himself up for the move in towards turn 8. But I don't think he's really gotten the greatest exit in the world here, Paul, coming up towards turn 8. I think it's going to have to be a last lap move unless he goes for an almighty send here down in towards turn 8. Not going to happen. He's going to bide his time and look to make his way through on the final lap of the race. And that would be sweet, sweet revenge considering what happened in the main race of Spa.
As they go into the final corner, Holtzman was too close coming out of turn 6 to really get the run out the corner. That's probably because De Jong was just parking it on the apex of the corner. But we are on the final lap of this sprint race here. You can see the front three, how Phil Sells just dropped back that little bit. I think he's maybe just thinking, just give these two a little bit of room, let Holtzman make some moves and try and pick up the pieces if anything happens. But if anyone can deal with pressure at the front of the field, it is this man that we're on board with, Mitchell de Jong, as they're going through turn 3 and turn 4 for the final time in this first sprint race. Downhill, braking hard for Moss through the right-hander there, and into the right-hander again for the exit of that one. And this is the one that counts now. Can Holtzman use the slipstream of de Jong at the front of your field? He's trying his best. He's in that slipstream, but he's not close enough here, I don't think, to make a move. And he's not close enough. He'll maybe try and make a lunge into the final corner if he can get close enough through this. And the next corner is gaining. Phil Sells gaining as well, trying to get that second place. And look to the inside. And there's contact between the two of them in the final corner. Patrick Holtzman is going to win this race ahead of Jared Phil Sell. And in one corner, Mitchell de Jong goes from first to third. What a dramatic move that was there. I'm sure that'll be discussed very much here. We're going to look at the replay again, and I called it. I said maybe get a lunge into that final corner. That's exactly what it was. Stuck his nose in there. De Jong was always closing that door there, but Holtzman used a crowbar and forced his way through. But my goodness, what a finish there, Connery.
That was a particularly contentious finish. I guess I'll phrase it that way. Definitely something that'll be investigated after the race, but in quite controversial circumstances, Patrick Holtzman provisionally getting himself the first, the sprint race win here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and that was absolutely insane. Mitchell de Jong, he had to feel so hard done by that one. He was leading through pretty much the entirety of the last, I would say, 2/3 of the race, and then to have that happen coming through the final corner, at least he has a bit of a 5-minute calm down before the main race now. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let's just give you the results of that race and that sprint race. Patrick Holtzman won that race ahead of Jared Phil Sell, just half a tenth between the two of them. De Jong comes across the line in third place. That's the main thing there for them. Beneke coming in fourth place ahead of Graham Carroll fifth. Jamie Flug, I don't know if he'll be too happy about that, but he's down in sixth place ahead of Enzo Benito seventh. David Novakovsky, great run from him in eighth place ahead of his teammate Kamil Franchek. The two Polish drivers, 8th and 9th there. And Jeremy Butler rounding out your top 10, and then the rest of your field will be running through your screen there. Matty Cronky, Marin Cholak, Tommy Erskard that we saw on board with. Josh Rogers, what a recovery drive, up to 14th from the back of the grid. Alejandro Sanchez, Gregor Hutu, Ricardo Castroledo, 17th, Thomas Tahala, Kevin Ellis Jr., not the best race for the Scotsman there. In 19th was Sebastian Dunkel, 20th. And keep on going down. Antoine Hijla, he's another one that was recovering in 21st. Marcus Jensen, Kazuki Umashima, 23rd. That's where he started 28th. Not bad for him. Yao Vaz, David Williams, Alexander Thebe, who went off early in the race. Max Lerner, Bob Zelensky, Lauren Heinrich, Deon Vergers, Sebastian Job, Marty Piatella, Ilka Harpala, and Pash Jurgis. One lap down there, Will.
Indeed it was. 24 drivers took on the first of our two races here today, but it was Patrick Holtzman who claimed victory in the final corner of the final lap of the race. And I know that Mitchell de Jong would probably be livid after that one. I mean, some would argue Holtzman had just enough of an opportunity to take that inside line. Mitchell de Jong, though, was so close to victory, and of course what it means now, because of the fact Jared Filsell was able to slot through as well, Mitchell de Jong will not only lose some points, but it also will start third for this 30-minute feature race, which is about to come up here on Racesport TV and on the iRacing Esports network. Let's have an update on your track conditions. It's actually gotten a degree cooler on track. It's 39 degrees Celsius right now. That's 103 degrees Fahrenheit. 24 degrees is the air temperature. Humidity is the same. The winds are picked up by a couple of miles an hour. Connery, that last corner, if you are de Jong, Holtzman or Filsell, you've got to put that to one side now and focus on the 30-minute race.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. The stewards won't be taking any action here in between the sprint race and the feature race. So Patrick Holtzman will start pole position here. De Jong will start in third position. And I said it, I alluded to it at the end of that sprint race here. They've got 5 minutes just to calm down the anxiety, the stress of that entire situation, and then focus on what is ahead of them. 30 more minutes here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And of course, you got that money on the line as well. $1,000 for a main race win here. And that is going to be weighing heavily on the mind of those top 5 drivers especially. I'm just having a look to see where Joshua Rodgers ended up. He did end up in P14 at the end of that sprint race. So a fantastic climb right from the back of the field there for Joshua Rodgers. But things get tougher for him from this point forwards because of the competition that has been absolutely fantastic at the front of this field. It'll be a lot harder for him to make up positions. So a top 10 finish here for Rodgers will actually be relatively okay considering the points margin he has at the front of the championship standings coming into this one. So yeah, this is going to be, I think we had a crazy end to that sprint race. I think it'll be another crazy main race as well, considering we have much of the same names involved.
Warm-up is over. Paul, back to you.
Thank you very much. So yeah, as we have every time, the results from the sprint race give us the grid for the feature race. So as we've been mentioning, it is Patrick Holtzman who's on pole position at Jared Filsell. Mitchell de Jong, third place, right behind Holtzman. He'll be certainly a man on a charge here, and he'll be trying to get a bit of a response to what happened at the end of that last race. But these drivers, they can't afford to get involved in any shenanigans like that. They've got to just keep calm, keep cool, and push on through and get the best result that they can for this event here. But yeah, Holtzman on pole ahead of Filsell, de Jong, and then Benekes on fourth. Graham Carroll with some good moves, fifth with Jamie Flick sixth, Enzo Benito seventh, David Novakovsky and Kamal Franchek and Jeremy Bootloop then rounding out your top 10. But we're almost set for the start of this feature race then. And we've got a 30-minute feature race to look forward to here. So what can happen here? The drivers will be looking up to the flag stand, waiting for the green flag. And away we go for the feature race of the Porsche Esports Supercup round 5. And it's a good start from Holtzman. Filsell gets up alongside him. De Jong having to hold him behind for the time being as they go through turn number 1 into turn number 2. This is where we saw a couple of little incidents in the first race. Hopefully everybody can get through that one so far. In fact, we've lost one driver so far from this one. That's Lauren Heinrich is out of the race after a turn 1 incident, but everyone else making their way through, and it's going to be a battle for the lead for the time being. Filsell having to slot in behind, trying everything, trying different lines to get the run out of this corner, but he's running out that little bit wide. I don't think he's quite got the move done. And well, de Jong, he's got a man on the mission here. He's wanted to get up to the front of this pack and to try and make the moves. He's got the slipstream of Filsell and Holtzman. Filsell going for the race lead early on in this one, around the outside of turn number 8. We've seen moves work there, but not this time, not in the opening lap.
Oh.
De Jong gets a little touch from behind, and that was Beneke. Beneke's actually run wide, and Carroll has gone through on him. So Beneke losing positions as they go through to end the lap 1. There's flash of the headlights from Beneke. He's not happy with something, and Carroll has actually got ahead of Carroll again. Benito is putting pressure on the Scotsman as well as, the 23 Camel Franchak. Great start from him into 7th place. Jamie Fluke has dropped down to 8th in this early going here, but it's battling in the pack here. Jeremy Bootloop trying to get involved on Fluke here as well. You'd think this was the start of the sprint race here, Connery, because these drivers are all keen to make up positions. Oh, and by the way, Joshua Rogers is up to 12th.
Oh no!
Oh,
Contact between two teammates. That's Camel Franchak spinning towards the grass, helped out by Nowakowski, and Rogers, he got caught up in that one. Huge shunt to the right-hand side door of the Australian. He'll drop all the way back to the back of the field. That's huge drama. All he needed to do was play it safe in this race, but through no fault of his own, bang, into the gravel, up and towards the tires as well. Joshua Rogers, he's crabbing across the circuit. His race is done.
And this is what happens if you start further down the field in these races, in these big pack races. You end up just one little mistake from somebody in front of you. You get caught up in the instant, and before you know it, you're heading to the scene of the accident, and that's exactly what's happened there. And, well, Josh Rogers, this is going to be crucial. If he DNFs this race, that's going to be a massive hit for him in this championship. But we will carry on now, looking forward, and it's Max Beneke. He's there on his own with Graham Carroll behind him, but looking forward. Patrick Holtzman getting a little bit wide out of turn number 3, and Jared Filsell, he smells blood in the water. It's Germany versus Australia as they head into Moss Corner, and this double apex right-hander, tricky one to get right. Get on the power on the exit, and that's exactly what Filsell does, but I just don't think he's quite close enough to make the most of that slipstream. But the key thing here is, Connery, he's got time to make these moves because he's got another 26.5 minutes in this race.
Yeah, that's just what the main race allows you to do, allows you to plan out your moves a little bit more, gives the drivers further back through the field that are out of position more time to get themselves up into a more representative finishing position here. But Filsell, he's not letting things rest too much here. He's just hounding the back of Patrick Holtzman as he heads his way through to take lap 4 here, the start of it at least, down in towards turn 1. There's a little bit of confusion further back as well. This is going to be Nowakowski on the outside of Kevin Ellis Jr. on that inside line. So the Polish driver Nowakowski trying to make things work around the outside there, but not able to hold on. He was one of the drivers involved, and in the instant that caught up Joshua Rogers, so he'll continue to actually fall back through the field here with the front end damage that he has to his Porsche. We have a little bit of a look at Redline driver as well. That's going to be Enzo Benito chasing Graham Carroll down towards turn 5. Such an interesting portion of the racetrack as you go down the hill, then back up the hill for the braking zone. You're turning as well through turn 5 while all those elevation changes are going on. Such a tricky portion of the racetrack there as Benito tries to chase down Carroll. Not going to be able to be in a position to perhaps have a go at any point here. He's going to need to be like at least another half a car length, arguably closer, to be able to make anything work. But with 25 minutes remaining, as you alluded to a little bit earlier on, Paul, there's no need to go for these early desperate moves.
That's it, let everything calm down that little bit. It's just take a hold and take stock of what's happened and where you are in this race. Look at where the weaknesses are of the driver in front that you're trying to overtake. I mean, the fact that Patrick Holtzman keeps on going onto the grass on the exit in the final corner and on the exit in turn 1 just say to me that he's under pressure and he's trying to keep as much of that minimum corner speed up as possible. And that's what's happening here. Through turn 3 now they go, and Holtzman is using every inch and that little bit more of the track at the front. Benito and Carroll, they're side by side, and there's the inevitable rub of doors, and Benito, great driving, great car handling there to keep a hold of that one. and he's dropped himself down to 7th. Jamie Flick's got the run out the corner now, so that's going to be 8th place for Benito. We'll look at it on board here then, and they're coming through turn number 4. Not quite, well, Benito was leaving a little bit of room there for Graham Carroll. And well, that just meant that with how those cars go through there, the one tracked out into the other, and just that little bit of contact and a half, not even a half spin, a quarter spin there for Enzo Benito. Well held, and he's managed to keep himself out of trouble and into 8th place, but he's right ahead of Martin Kroenke, and of course his tyres are going to have a bit more heat into them now here. It's not going to be feeling ideal for Enzo. Jeremy Bootloop, by the way, great drive from him so far. He's up to 6th place, and now he's the one putting the pressure on Greg Carroll here.
Yeah, absolutely awesome from the Frenchman so far in this race. Started in P10, making his way up. Easy does it. For one of the many VRS Grand Sim Sport drivers in this particular series, and looks like Bootloop might just be able to get himself up inside the top 5 here, because Carroll has made a mare of that first sector, so Bootloop is able to catch right back up to the back bumper of the car ahead of them. Not going to be able to do anything in 6, but with the slightly wider line taken there from Bootloop through turn 6, this will pay dividends now coming down the Mario Andretti straightaway. Just sitting in that slipstream, Carroll has none of his own to use, so he's a little bit of a sitting duck here in this sort of situation. Bootloop, outside line taken. This has been the preferred line to make moves down into here. Bootloop almost goes very late on the brakes. Carroll, though, somehow holds on that inside. He's going to be slow through the exit of this particular corner. Bootloop had the run, but no space to be able to make it work. It will still be Carroll ahead as they head the way across the line to take lap 7.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was compromising the exit of the corner just to make sure he stayed ahead for Graham Carroll. And that's exactly what he did, and he did it to perfection as well, as these two still battling on as you go through turn 1 and 2. Jeremy Bootloop, that little bit of a tighter line for him through turn 2 here compared to Graham in front. And it's interesting to see how the different styles, the different ways of driving between the Frenchman and the Scotsman is really showing through here. Bootloop is holding those tighter lines. He's not using quite as much of the track as Graham as they go down into Moss Corner again. Will there be a move under the braking? No, there won't. So Bootloop staying right up behind, but we'll look forward. That race lead, it's still Patrick Holtzman ahead of Jared Filzell, with Mitchell de Jong in 3rd place. They've just been staying as they are at the moment, and Holtzman has actually been able to pull out just that little bit of a gap. It's 0.3 of a second between the two of them. The slipstream comes into play there down the straight, but right now they can't do it, as further back we've got side-by-side action with Carroll and Bootloop as well. They're still battling away. There they are on screen. And, well, into the final corner. Carroll, he's got the inside for the final corner. He's going to hang on. Oh, look at that sideways moment for Bootloop. Here's the opportunity now for Jamie Fluke. He's not got the run around the outside. He's got Enzo Benito right behind him as well. And you can see how one little mistake, just one little switch, and everybody's all over you here, Connery. As look, Benito, he's looking menacing behind Fluke. He's trying to make moves back forward again after that contact with Graham Carroll. It's a good little battle pack here for 5th down to 9th place.
It very much is. Carroll still leading the way in this particular train, though. And if you remember back to the pro qualifying series, to get yourself into this series, it was Graham Carroll that put up the fantastic defense at the end of the race to be able to hold position. He needs to do so again on arguably a much bigger stage here if he's going to hold on to a top 5 finish. Bootloop has been looking threatening. Same with Jamie Fluke and Benito as well. So exactly as you said, Paul, if anyone steps a foot out of line, then you're going to be hounded and harassed through these corners up towards turn 8. No moves being made. We had a little bit of a moment perhaps with Jeremy Bootloop looking for a move, but he tucks back in line, so it's all a single file snake coming through this final sector, and a little bit of an ultimate line taken there coming up towards the final corner before you get yourself onto lap number 9 then for these guys. And it's still the status quo all the way through this one. There's a little bit of a battle pack going on behind as well, involving the likes of Irsgard, Cholak, Ellis Jr., Sanchez in that particular order. So battle packs forming. We've got that train for the race lead, a train for what will be P number 5 on circuit, and then we have one that's going to be for P11 and back as well. So everyone's just separating themselves out into their own little groups.
Yeah, and this is what's great about this series, is the fact that everyone is going to be battling all the way through, because especially...
Holtzman!
Yeah, they're... well, Holtzman, what on earth has happened to him there? Because he's lost 2 positions to Phil Sell and to De Jong. We'll have a look, and it's going to be a mistake, you imagine, or a little bit of contact. We'll have a look on the replay. So, as they go out of 3 into turn number 4, everything's fine here. It's going to be down into Moss Corner, because that is one place where you can make mistakes. He was under intense pressure, and there he is, just runs out wide onto the dirt. So easily done there at that corner, and that loses him 2 places. So Phil Sell now in the lead ahead of De Jong, with Holtzman in 3rd place, and that's really stirred things up. Beneke's battling, and look at this battle here. Further back, Carroll still holding on to 5th place ahead of Jeremy Bootloop. Jamie Fluke is putting the pressure on, as well as Benito. So it's a really close battle pack here as they come down the hill in turn 2. They're almost together. You can almost put a towel over them. They're that close together as they go through turn number 3. And Carroll still ahead of Jeremy Bootloop, putting in this incredible defensive display. Here is the Scotsman down the hill. Jeremy Bootloop from France, trying to put all the pressure on here as they go through Moss Corner once again, but he's in that difficult position of having to attack in front but defend from behind, because Jamie Fluke is hanging around, as well as up near the front as well. So you've got this side by side, you've got a side by side for the lead as well in your race here, and it's going to be Jeremy Butler trying to make it through into 5th, but looking forward as well, and we have got a change of race lead on the timing screen here. I can see it, and there it is. Contact between Phil Sell, between De Jong. Holtzman was almost involved in that one as well. They're back up and running. Beneke now suddenly finds himself in 2nd place. This battle pack that we've been watching of Graham Carroll, they're now on this one. We've got Beneke trying to make the move on Holtzman, and there's contact between the 2 of them. This is incredible action. What on earth is happening? Everybody's losing their heads here. So all of a sudden Beneke now finds himself in the lead. Well, good luck talking us through the replay of this one.
I'll try my best, but look at this. Battle for the race lead through the final corner. There's Phil Sell looking for the... well, not looking for anything, I don't think. He simply ran into the back of Mitchell de Jong coming off the corner. Holtzman having to take avoiding action across the grass. That's Beneke hopping his way all the way through as well. And if we get the view towards the front of these guys, there's coming the way through turn 1 up towards turn 2. Holtzman trying to hold position for the race lead. And then Beneke looking for a little bit of a cutback coming through turn 3, but completely miscalculates it. That's the Red Bull Racing Esports driver around. That's Beneke up into P1. But the thing is, Mitchell de Jong is now back in the battle for the race lead, and so is Jared Phil Sell. This keeps going up and down like a roller coaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So we go back to live pictures. There it is. So Beneke in 1st place, De Jong 2nd, Phil Sell 3rd. Jeremy Bootloop now finds himself in 4th place because he's got ahead of Graham Carroll in all of that. Enzo Benito 6th place with Cronke 7th. Fluke has actually dropped down to 8th place here with Gregor Hutu now. So we've got a queue of cars 1st to 9th covered by 3 seconds as we hit the halfway point of this race. 15 minutes remaining in this one, and well, these drivers are giving us some drama here today in this race, and I tell you what, they're going to see some more fireworks in this one, and I think there'll be a few fireworks after the race as well with this one, because there's been plenty of action going on. Jared Phil Sell, he'll want to try and make the move again on De Jong, but De Jong now, he'll be thinking twice about leaving the door open to Phil Sell, and he'll also want to stop him from trying to push his way through as well. But they've got to be careful, because Beneke, if they start fighting amongst themselves, Beneke will pull away at the front here. He's got the talent, he's got the skill to be able to do that as they come through the final corner. and those three are still pretty close together as they come through, but this is fantastic action, and this is what we expected from the Porsche Esports Super Cup. Action aplenty in this one, maybe not the contacts that we would have wanted, but certainly the action here.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe not the contact, but the drama, the action, then yeah, I definitely won't be complaining. But this is absolutely crazy. We still have just under 15 minutes left in this race, and still so much potential for pretty much anything to happen at this stage. It's absolutely crazy, but right now, Beneke leads the way from De Jong, from Phil Sell. 3-car scrap at the front of the field. Boot loop. Carol Bonito not too far away either. So pretty much anyone inside of this top 9 here could potentially get themselves up onto the podium here if the right set of circumstances arise. You can see the view on the back of Maximilian Beneke all the way back to the American of Mitchell de Jong. And this is just going to be a case of how much damage has each of these cars incurred. It doesn't seem to be all that much, at least from the perspective of Maximilian Beneke. He has a little bit of damage to the rear left of that car. But De Jong looking relatively okay as well. Phil Sell been in the wars, but he has a pretty clean car as well. So despite all the contact and all the carnage that has been happening, it seems like most of these drivers that are still fighting for the podium positions here are still near 100% in terms of their car healthiness, not too damaged at all. So that is going to just spice things up a little bit more here for the final 12 minutes of this race. But Maximilian Beneke, he's had such a lackluster season so far in this one, or at least in the first couple of events. He finally had a pretty good week, pretty good day at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve a couple of weeks ago, a P2 in the sprint race and a P3 in the main race. But for Beneke, this is where his season starts to turn around even further if he can get this race win here today.
Well, as we see the top 3 just spreading out that little bit, I will say the biggest loser out of all of that action that happened was Patrick Holtzman. He's dropped down to 12th place. We'll look at Gregor Hutu. He's up behind Jamie Fluke. So the Finnish driver of Hutu, very experienced World Championship driver, running it through the final corner, trying to put the pressure on the Northern Irishman of Jamie Fluke ahead. Look at those positions gained, by the way, on the left-hand side of your screen. Look at that. That's Piatello up 16 positions out of all this. Sebastian Job, we've not really talked about. He's up into 20th place after starting at the back, after getting having that incident, that tank slapper in race number 1. We have got a number of retirements though, it's worth pointing out. Lauren Heinrich, David Williams, Joshua Rogers, Kemal Franchek, Ricardo Castrolado is on pit road, and actually Pash Jurgis has just gone onto pit road as well, so quite a few retirements there. But there's your top 8 on screen. Max Beneke in the lead ahead of Mitchell de Jong, Jared Phil Sell in 3rd place ahead of Jeremy Bootloop in 4th, Graham Carroll and Enzo Bonito 5th and 6th. Those two have been inseparable all afternoon here, with Martin Cronkite and Jamie Fluke rounding up the top 8, but Fluke under pressure from behind. Meanwhile, we'll look forward. Jared Phil Sell is trying to, it's de Jong trying to make the move on Beneke here. So Beneke's been reeled in here. Bonito, by the way, fastest lap of the race, so that's interesting to see the Italian able to get the fastest lap so far. But de Jong just run it out that little bit wide. That'll cost him a 10th or so as they go into turn number 1. And as I say about the fastest lap, Jared Phil Sell now with the fastest lap of this race. So it's the fuel is coming out of this car, and tyre degradation is pretty good in this car as well, because it is a GT style car. So you don't have to, you can push those tyres that little bit more. But de Jong has now got Phil Sell all over the back of him. He's coming under pressure here, and that 2nd place is really coming under threat here, Connery.
Yep, it is. Phil Sell down into turn 5. Not going to be looking for anything. He can just follow tightly to that Mitchell de Jong ahead of him. Out of turn 6 as well. That's going to be where Beneke hasn't really been particularly strong, so he'll fall back into the clutches of these guys a little bit through this back straight. And so with De Jong with the slipstream, he might just have a bit of a look. You can see ahead of us on that onboard, De Jong looking for a little bit of a move around the outside. Darts back in line, so Beneke is pretty safe for now, but Phil Sell, he's looking to get stuck in there in that Apex Racing Porsche. Coming up through the final corner for the Australian. We have a look further back as well. There's a battle between what's going to be Antoine Hijlan and Marin Cholak here. Hijlan, of course, having to start at the back of the grid for the sprint race. He's one of those drivers that has been working themselves up from the back of the grid thanks to a qualifying ban here, on the edge of getting himself in towards the top 10. Not a bad run at all for Antoine, but Cholak, he's had a very good event so far today as well, so I don't think he won't be giving up this position too easily.
Yeah, the Croatian in front of the Frenchman there in that battle further down your field for 12th and 13th. Look at this here, Martin Kroenke. We're on board with him as they head into Moss once again. He's got Enzo Benito ahead of him, Graham Carroll in front of him, Jeremy Bootloop. It's a whole queue of cars trying to get that lead, but Beneke's been able to pull out just that little bit over Mitchell de Jong as they're going down this back straightaway. Kroenke can't quite get with those drivers in front, so he's just having to hold on to his position for the time being as they head into the right-hander at turn number 8. And here we go again, Phil Sell, De Jong. We've seen these two come to blows in that crazy minute that we had earlier on. Keeping it nice and clean for the time being. Phil Sell not making any rash moves at the moment, but it's Australia versus USA into turn number 1, and they're both trying to hook down the German and Max Beneke in front of them through turn 2. Again, I've kept on mentioning it, it's a tricky corner. The track just falls away from you through that corner as they're going to 3 now, and it's all about just biding your time and making the best of your moment. And speaking of those people who are doing just that, Gregor Hutu behind Jamie Fluke, he's putting the pressure on now, and he's trying to improve his position up into 8th place. One thing we haven't mentioned, and we've got 7 minutes remaining in all of this, the race winner of this race gets $1,000. That's $1,000 in your pocket, with 2nd and 3rd getting tipped $400 and $200. So that's why that first place, as well as the championship points, 100 championship points for the winner of this race, it's also the money. That's a little bit of an extra incentive for them here today. Look at this move now, Benito versus Carroll. To the outside, Benito can't make that move. Carroll's been putting on this masterful defensive display. We've seen him with these defensive exploits before in the past here. And through the right-hander they go. Still not able to go past as Benito with 6 minutes remaining in this race, Connor.
Yeah, so time starting to become a problem for drivers throughout the field, and Benito, again, one of those drivers that has had a pretty good day here today, especially compared to his escapades earlier on in the season. Of course, he missed out 2 rounds in the middle of the season as well, so that is not exactly ideal there for Benito. He missed out Mid-Ohio, he missed out Spa-Francorchamps as well, and in the races he did take part in, he only got a highest finish of 6th. The rest of them going to be top 10, outside the top 10 there for Enzo Benito. So if he wants to get his season back on track, then this could be the best place to be able to do so. Getting yourself inside the top 5 won't be a too shabby of a result at all, but for the Italian, it just means getting past Graham Carroll, and we know how hard it is to do exactly that. We saw that at the end of the sprint race here today, and Carroll will continue on his form in defense here up towards turn 8. So with about 5 minutes remaining, race lead very much undecided, in the entirety of the podium still undecided. I wonder why we said that before.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, we've had an incident coming out of turn number 6. It's Moritz Lerner who's been up and over. I can tell you that. Looking further down your order. And we'll get a look at this now on replay, and well, you can see the battered and bruised car of the Williams Esports driver of Lerner. It's coming out of this corner, and there it is, dink, that little contact, and all of a sudden 3 cars into 1. It doesn't go, and up and over goes Moritz, and that is end of day for that driver. Hard times for him. but he is down there on pit road out of this one. Looking forward to your race lead battle. Still 0.6 of a second between first and second, with De Jong second and third with Phil Sell. They're pretty close together. Looking further back, and it's still Benito not able to make any moves here for the time being in that 7th place. Actually not 6th place, sorry. Graphics just not quite right there just for the time being. They'll sort themselves out in a moment. But it's Benito 6th place, Carroll 5th place as they go through these final 2 corners, and they've got to sort themselves out. 27, that's Patrick Holtzman, the man who won the sprint race. He's having issues here, and he's having major problems. He's got damage you saw on the front of the car from the instance earlier on, and I think he's got even more damage to that car because he's struggling and he's falling back through your field. So a bit of a nightmare considering how that first race went for him. And he's in 16th, coming under pressure from Kazuki and Mishima, and in fact runs wide. There goes Kazuki, and there goes Marcus Jensen as well around the outside of him. So it's just trying to get to the end of this race, I think, to Patrick, to get some points for the man who's came into this week in 8th place in the championship, but he's been dropping down the field here today, so not an ideal one. But with 3 minutes remaining, Connery, it's all about getting those moves and getting them sorted out, and Jared Filsell is the one looking most likely to make some moves.
It's all about managing gaps as well, and that's what Maximilian Benecke has been able to do in the race lead. Good pace from him. Of course, once he gets himself into this sort of position where he's able to manage the gap with the race lead, then he's one of the best around. But with Jared Filsell, Mitchell de Jong hot on his heels, they haven't really been gaining all that much over the past couple of laps. But again, exactly like you said, throughout this race, Paul, it's one mistake and all of a sudden you have everyone trying to pass you every which way. So Benecke can't rest on his laurels. He needs to be 100% focused all the way until the end of this race now. Mitchell de Jong, he has to be concerned ahead and behind here because Filsell has been looking very aggressive, especially up in towards that turn 5 and turn 6 section has been where Filsell has been particularly strong. He just hasn't been able to capitalize on that with a pass down in towards turn 8. We'll see it again coming up through turn 5 this time. Filsell not as aggressive as he has been previously. De Jong getting a little bit squirrely through the middle of the complex there. Just that front of that car just washing across the racing circuit, not able to grip up, but Filsell again not able to capitalize on that very fact. Here comes Enzo Benito on Graham Carroll though for P5 here on the way down the back straight, and Benito stepped out of line, I think a little bit too early there, and now he jets back in line, back out of line, looks for any move, but can't find anything there down into turn 8, and now that has allowed Martin Kroenke to get himself onto the back of this particular battle as well. So with about a minute remaining here, this will be the final lap here as they head their way across the line. White flag flying, and Benecke in the preferred seat, I should say, here at the front of this field. De Jong has to be very, very careful here if he wants to come home P2 or up.
Yeah, as they go through turn number 2 then for the final time in this race. It was about 10 seconds too late for them to get another lap into this one. So, Benecke at the front, Filsell putting the pressure on. Marin Cholak is an instant further down. He's spun. He's trying to get back up and away again, but he's dropping down the order. That's a nightmare for him after a really good run here. But looking forward in your field then, De Jong under intense pressure from Filsell. Are we going to see another last lap lunge move from Filsell and a change of position towards the end? Benecke's too far ahead of them for them to try and get the move done on him. So it's all about second place here in this battle as they come through turn number 8 now. Through that corner, the white flag is confirmed. It is the last lap, 9 and 10. So one more corner, and Max Benecke on round number 5 of the Porsche Esports Supercup is the winner in this feature race here today on the iRacing Esports Network. Mitchell de Jong second place ahead of Jared Filsell. Jeremy Bootloop rounding out the top 4. Great defensive drive from Graham Carroll to finish in 5th place ahead of Enzo Benito. We've seen plenty of drama, and Kazuki Mishima is putting the pressure on across the line, not able to make any move for the time being, but what a drive from Max Benecke to take the win here. The rest of your field coming across the line then. It just shows how close this field was, that they're all pretty much finished here, but certainly been an absolutely thrilling race. Plenty of drama, plenty of controversy in that one as well. Sebastian Job comes across the line. He's the final one of your finishers. So let's take you through your finishing results then here in the feature race of round number 5 of the Porsche Esports Super Cup. And it is Maximilian Benecke who wins by 0.3 of a second ahead of Mitchell de Jong in 2nd place. Gerard Filsell just couldn't quite make it work to end up in 3rd place. Jeremy Bootloop 4th ahead of Graham Carroll and Enzo Benito, who were battling each other most of that race, 5th and 6th. Martin Kroenke and Jamie Fluke 7th and 8th, with Gregor Hutu not able to get past Jamie. He finishes in 9th. Tommy Erskard, a good result for him, rounding out the top 10. Then further down your field, you have got Alejandro Sanchez, 11th place, only 6.6 seconds behind your race winner. That tells you how close the field was. Antoine Higelin, great recovery drive from him after missing out on qualifying in race number 1, finishing 12th. Martin Piatella, David Navakovsky, who got caught up in that incident with his teammate, 14th for him. Kazuki Mishima, Marcus Jensen, Johan Vaz, Bobby Zelensky, being rather quiet from Bobby, he's down in 18th for Patrick Holtzman, the big loser from that whole incident, in 19th for Kevin Ellis Jr., rounding out the top 20. Then your 21st place is Dion Vergers with Marin Cholak 22nd after making that mistake on the final lap. Alexander Thebe 23rd with Ilka Harpler 24th. Thomas Tahala 25th. Sebastian Job, he had a mistake earlier in this race. That dropped him down to the back of the runners in 26th. And then the rest of the drivers did not finish. Sebastian Dunkel, Moritz Lerner, Pascal Georgis, Ricardo Castro-Ledo, also Kamil Franchek, Joshua Rogers, David Williams and Lauren Heinrich round out all of your non-finishers in that event. But it certainly was a drama-filled race for you to dissect there, Will, but I certainly loved every minute of that.
It was very, very interesting, but it's Max Benecke, who's now $1,000 richer. That's what you're going to see from Paul Smith today. He is literally now running to a train station to go and see a very famous band who shall remain nameless. But what a race. Controversy, drama, action, all the way up and down through your field. And well, Connery, the sprint race, we saw it be the final corner of the final lap. We didn't have to wait 15 minutes to see the excitement of the feature race.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy early on in the race, with the race lead changing so many times within the first sector of the lap. That was absolutely crazy, but at the end of the day, it is Maximilian Benecke coming home and taking the feature race win, and of course $1,000 in his bank account as well. And for Maximilian Benecke, that's going to be a huge boost for him. He got P4 in the sprint race, P1 in the feature race, another great points haul for him today. And now he can look to track down Mitchell de Jong and Joshua Rogers for P1 and 2 in the standings as well. So Benecke, we had a little bit of a question mark over his performance in the first few rounds of the season, but he's starting to pick things up now, and that's a very, very scary prospect if you're Mitchell de Jong and Joshua Rogers, because Maximilian Benecke at his best is one of the best iRacers around.
Yeah, we've got Max Benecke here now, actually. So, Max, congratulations on winning the feature race. And after a couple of races to start the season that weren't necessarily the way you wanted it to be, you've kind of got yourself in some form right now.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. Great to be here. Yeah, the first races were a bit unlucky, and now I was able to just finish races. I mean, today was again a bit lucky. I'm sorry to Patrick. I still have to look at it, what happened there. But after all, yeah, a good race 2, so made a lot of fun, but sweating a lot, but still glad to be here.
So talk us through the sprint race first of all, because we get the chance to talk to you after that one. Seems to be qualifying is getting better for you, but that sprint race, a lot of drivers were struggling to find a fully open avenue to find overtaking opportunities. How hard was it to really find a way through here today?
In 2 words, very hard. But we knew that before. So it's all about track position in the qualifying already. Obviously, the gaps are so small that you just can't go for P8, P7, P6. You just have to go for a good run in the qualification and then hope for the best. And then in the race, I had one clean overtake, I think, with Jamie, which worked pretty good around the outside of the second to last corner or third to last corner. And but that's basically all you have. Unless somebody in front of you makes a mistake, you just have basically no real shot at another position to gain the position. But nevertheless, from P4 to P1 now, so it's possible, but you have to have a bit of luck with other people.
Talking about the feature race, of course, you saw yourself become able to get yourself to the front of the field. It was all just in position, first ultimate off, then there's that moment down the exit final corner, you get yourself into first position, but then you had both Young and Phil Self company for the rest of the way. How hard were you defending?
Oh yeah, that was when I saw that the gap was closing again to Mitchell behind me. I was already thinking, okay, now I have to push really hard and to just drive qualifying laps, and that's what I did. Obviously, the draft is really, the slipstream is really impressive here. So you can go from 0.5 behind to 0.2 behind easily. So all you have to do is keep the guys behind in the corners where it matters, the high downforce corners, where you just have to go really quick through it, so the others have a bit of dirty air. And that's what I just tried, and it worked out until the end. I just tried to concentrate for every single corner again, and that's what I did, and that's why it worked out in the end. But all the others had a great pace as well. If they would have been up front, I'm pretty sure they would have done the same.
Well, half the schedule is now in the books. 5 races, 5 race weekends even, shall we say, of this championship are in the books. And next time out, we go to Watkins Glen International in 3 weeks' time. Watkins Glen, we talk about a narrow track here. Watkins Glen's also a very narrow track, but one which historically has more overtaking than what we'd have here. What are your thoughts as we head into round number 6 in a few weeks?
Yeah, there are 2 main differences between Watkins and here. The weather is almost the same, but we have, first of all, a track where you can have a bit more of overtaking, and second of all, the track is really long, so it's probably like 150 times, which is almost 30 seconds faster or even more than here. So the qualifying will not be as close, so maybe you will have again a shot on being close to P8 but not P9. So that's already like a big difference, which can give you some positions. But then, as you said, it's easier to overtake. I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's definitely easier than here, although this was quite a hard track to overtake from the whole schedule.
We'll let you go, Max. Shout out sponsors, who gets it done for you?
Yeah, first of all, of course, our sponsors, Spusu, iRacing, and Autos Wallmeier, and then thanks to the team for the support. And thanks to you guys for doing what you do, and thanks to all the people watching the stream. It was a great show today, I think.
Well, thank you very much. Max Benecke then coming home with the race victory here today. Second place driver, Mitchell de Jong, kind of Simsport, stood by with Connery.
Mitchell, another fantastic race day for you in this one. It's a double podium sprint race, and of course the feature race that actually takes your tally of double podiums up to 3. So your consistency throughout the season has been absolutely fantastic. And what do you put that down to?
Well, with a series like this, and the racing being so close on such hard to pass tracks, there's a lot of luck in there. You can only do the best you can. Where you start is a huge deal. Fortunately, with how close qualifying was, I still was able to get P7, I think. So putting me in the front row, well, second place for the start, helped a ton. And yeah, just trying to not get in incidents. Unfortunately, we got in some there, and shoot, I have no idea how he still ended up on the podium after that. Pretty much taken out in both races, so it's what a result.
Taken out in both races in very similar positions as well. The first one, just talk me through that one. At the end of the feature race, last lap, last corner, Holtzman decides to go for an almighty sends down the inside at the final corner. Just take us through what your thought processes were when you saw that big Red Bull Racing Esports car just go for that move.
Yeah, to be honest, I want to say I was surprised, but to be honest, no. Like, you know, you see that move in NASCAR and things like that, so it's always in the back of your mind that someone's going to try it, but you know, it always ends up in a wreck. I mean, that's a given. So I don't think it, like, without a doubt, it's in my position that was pretty bad move to make, because that could have taken out a lot more people and himself. So you know, fortunately for him, it didn't take him out, so he still got the win, and somehow we still ended up third, which is kind of a miracle. So yeah, I mean, I was just trying to hold position, not do anything crazy after we got around Jamie, and you know, to end up like that, you know, it's a bit annoying, because you know, you get incident points for that, and that can lead to a qualifying suspension like Josh had today. So I don't really see the point in a move like that, but you know, I guess he had his reasons.
Yeah, very aggressive move, last lap, last corner, you know, a little bit of a mitigating factor there. But then when we get to the feature race on lap 10, it's exactly the same corner. Not really a similar incident. It was Jared Filsell running into the back of you off the corner. Are there any thoughts surrounding that one?
Yeah, well, I mean, Jared's always a really good guy to race with, I would say. You know, I think that was just people racing really hard. You know, the line I had to take, I was going to be slow on that apex, so that was natural, and I knew he was going to go for that crossover. But, you know, I think he just cut it a bit too close, and, you know, it's hard racing. It's really unfortunate for me, because I felt like I could have held on to that for the rest of the race. Pace-wise, I felt really good. But, you know, unfortunately, it didn't happen. Somehow we still were running in third or something after that, which is crazy again. When you get wrecked out in front of the field like that, usually you collect pretty much everyone. So very happy that it didn't collect everyone else, and we were still able to get going again. And yeah, unfortunately, because of that, we lost a bit of top speed, which was kind of our main advantage with the setup we ran. So we didn't really have the downforce in the corners or the top speed, so couldn't really put the fight to max at all, unfortunately. But you know, I'm still pretty stoked to be second after such a crazy race. You know, hopefully one of these times we can actually get it done and get the win, but that's not yet.
Well, not yet. You've come very, very close yet so far in terms of a main race win, at least. Of course, you had that sprint race win at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and you know, heading into the latter part of this season now, the second half of it, you have to say, with that abysmal result from your teammate Joshua Rogers, surely he's within striking distance now.
To be honest, I don't know where we are at putting points, but I guess I have a lot on him now. But yeah, it's, you know, even though we're fighting the championship as a teammate, like, you hate to see something like that happen. Just actually saw the incident now, and you know, that's the difficult part with starting in the back there. So really feel for him, because you know, that's I had a race like that in Mid-Ohio, and it's the worst feeling. So you know, he'll bounce back. He'll you know, everyone knows his pace, so it's gonna be a tight one to the end.
Yeah, there we go. And well, is there anyone, before we get on to a couple of drivers, we have Graham Carroll and Jared Filsell waiting to get themselves into the commentary booth, but before that happens, Mitchell, is there anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, absolutely. Big shout out to our teammates and spotters for keeping us on the right track and developing the car over the week. And of course, all their other partners, Virtual Racing School and Word Design, SimQuip, VTech, Joe Real Timing, Red Bull, and of course, you guys, RaceSpot, for putting on the broadcast for us.
Well, thank you very much, Mitchell. And, well, it wasn't a main race win for Mitchell de Jong, but still a fantastic points haul indeed, seemingly able to pull those out of the bag across the season. That's why he's in the position that he's in right now, P2 in the standings.
Yeah, indeed. So, Jared Philsell comes home 3rd place here today in the Apex Racing Team 94 car. And, well, Jared, it was a race really where you could have ended up finishing 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or retired. So, out of all of those options, how does that 3rd place feel to you?
How are you going? Yeah, that feels great, to be honest. Not a lot of time spent in the car this week, unfortunately, for myself. So to capitalise on a podium and to be even remotely near the top 5 is absolutely stunning for me personally. But yeah, just say sorry to Mitch there for that little contact. I'm not sure. I haven't had a look at it yet whether it was net code or not. But yeah, very unexpected, and I think we both took the brunt of the damage there because we were both slow in a straight line after that.
So, the racing here himself, I talked to Max Benecke a little bit earlier on, and he said that overtaking it is notoriously difficult. How hard were you finding it to find the right line, especially through that sequence of corners at the end of the lap?
Yeah, very difficult. Obviously, you can pull off that big dive bomb right at the end there, but pretty risky move to be honest. But yeah, the draft was pretty crazy to be honest. Whoever was out in the lead was going to be battling very, very hard to the end.
And, well, we think about next time out, we go to Watkins Glen International. And Watkins Glen is one of these tracks that, like here, it's narrow, but unlike here, it is very well known by the drivers, to the point that there are also more overtaking opportunities within the boot layout as well. You've got things like the bus stop, turn 7, of course, and then that left-hander, that left lane that I hate more than any other corner, really, towards the end of the lap. Just talk us through what your thoughts are being at the halfway point of this season, and what you're looking forward to as we go to Watkins in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, definitely. Watkins should be pretty good. We raced that in the pro qualifying, so the baseline set should be fairly competitive there. I feel like it'll probably be a bit like tonight, but with a bit more passing because it's a longer track, so that should be good. I'm not sure where I'm sitting in the championship now. I missed last week, unfortunately, due to family reasons, so it's a good points haul tonight for me.
Before I let you go, Jared, shout out sponsors who gets it done for you.
Logitech G gets it done for us. They're fantastic support. Speed Cafe and SDK Gaming, and a big shout out to everyone at Apex for helping out this week on the setups.
Well, thank you very much. That's Jared Philsell coming home in 3rd place here today. One more person to talk to whilst we have the opportunity. That is Graham Carroll. Graham, you're racing here today. I mean, we saw you involved in a lot of battles in that Red Bull Racing Esports car. You must feel exhausted after that one.
Yeah, to be honest, the feature race, the setup maybe wasn't ideal for myself anyway. We're really slow in a straight line as well. So yeah, it was from basically 3 or 4 laps in, just looking in my mirror, thinking, right, I need to sort of keep this together and try and hold as many people back. I let Jeremy by. Well, I didn't let him by. He got by, and that was the only person that got by. So I'm kind of chuffed at that. I thought I'd fall back a bit further, but yeah, overall 2 P5s, P2 in quali. Pretty chuffed, to be honest.
We talked about some people who had some shaky starts to the season, now getting into the swing of things. Of course, Max Benecke winning the feature race here today. You're one of these drivers as well that seems to be getting better and better as the season progresses. Is that just having more time to adapt to this car and start racing that's expected in the Porsche Esports Cup, or is it, I don't know, just luck and draw?
Well, it's not a single seater. It's not an F1 car. that's the issue. I'm just used to F1, and single seater cars are more my sort of cup of tea. So it's took me a long time to adapt, and yeah, throughout the week in practice even I sort of feel a bit slow compared to my teammates. But on the day when the quali lap comes, it's a different story, you know. So yeah, it's definitely getting better. Quali and the races is getting better. So yeah, I just need to keep scoring. I think. Someone just said to me, you know, you can be champion in this series without almost winning a race. You know, it's that crazy. So, just got to keep scoring points and yeah, get the next few rounds over with and see where we are. You know, we're sort of slowly working our way back up the order. That's not a bad thing, also.
why your teammate Holtzman is able to win the sprint race here today. Unluckiness for him meant that you again did end up with a race. You get a top 5 here today. Heading into the second part of the season, what do you think the organisation of Racing Esports needs to do, if anything? Is looks such a big part of that?
To be honest, I think we're all working well together. That's no issue. We're quite a small team compared to some of the other teams on the grid. But no, just keep the attitude we've got at the minute, pushing hard. We're never sort of settled on a time throughout the week. We always want to go quicker, all the way up to sort of this morning, you know. So no, it's really good in the camp. Just got to keep going. And again, I think there's a bit of luck in these races as well. You know, like there's a few. I had a close race with Enzo today, and yeah, he almost cleaned me out. I almost cleaned him out. It was both the incidents could have been sort of race ending. So you've got to have a bit of luck on your side, but yeah, you've still got to have the pace, I suppose. So
we'll let you go then, Graham. Shout out sponsors who gets it done for you.
Yep, just everybody at Red Bull. A massive thanks to them, all the support they've gave us, all the guys in the team. Yeah, everything's working really awesome at the minute, and yeah, a great bunch of guys to have around.
Thank you very much. Graham Carroll then coming home in 5th place here today. Before we go, Connery, it's worth talking about the fact that Josh Rogers, of course, was involved in the incident that sort of two Triton racing drivers make contact, and then a bit like a pinball machine, unfortunately, Josh Rogers ended up being the innocent bystander. What that means is that he does now lead the championship still, but he only gained 20 points this race, and Mitchell de Jong has closed the gap down to less than 30. In fact, it's 28 points right now.
Yeah, well, provisionally, that's what it looks like. Of course, we have all these post-race penalties to take into consideration as well, if any. So that will chop and change over the next week or so, I suspect. But yeah, Josh Rogers still leading, but it's not by a comfortable margin anymore by any means. So Mitchell de Jong, you know, as much as he doesn't want to admit it, he is within striking distance at this point, despite Josh being his teammate, of course. And you also can count Maximin Benecke in that one as well. He's not too far adrift in terms of the points here in this season. So another good couple of races for Benecke, and he could be another challenger for that overall series win once we get to Monza.
Yep, that is all we've got time for, though, here today in the 5th round of the Porsche Esports Supercup, when it was another Coanda driver at the end being able to take himself victory. But half the season is now in the books. That's the important thing. The next half of the season, well, that is on June 29th. We go to upstate New York and Watkins Glen International for our next set of races. We've got 2 more races to go in North America, one at Watkins Glen, one at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, and 3 races in Europe at Silverstone, the Nürburgring, and we conclude our season at Monza. Well, that's all we've got time for us to say. Before we go, I'd like to give a shout out to the people who help us get things done. That is Isfan Balau, TrackCams, 22.com, as well as the guys over at ATVO, and our live timing and scoring brought to you by Nick Thitton. So, Canada throws up another curveball as the Toronto Raptors may be 1 game away from making history in the NBA. We saw a fantastic race here today in the Porsche Esports Supercup. Red Bull Racing get themselves the sprint win, but they cannot convert it into the feature. It is Max Benecke and Pure Racing Team who are able to get the victory, and of course that makes Benecke $1,000 richer. From Paul Smith and Connery Manick, I'm Will Vincent. Thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast today. Goodbye and good night from the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.